life takes some twists and turns. Sometimes it's going one direction and it isn't going that direction anymore. I certainly never thought I'd become a pastor. Sports, ever since I was 3 years old, I told my parents I want to be a professional athlete. Growing up, watching the Go Big Ten, and it was a dream come true to finally play a professional sport. And, it was a tragedy that really led to the transition, but that's true with a lot of us. That sometimes it's pain that leads to a greater purpose and even passion that comes fueled by that pain. Being a goalkeeper is both physical and psychological, and soccer, there's not a lot of scoring, although it is the world's #1 sport. But with not much scoring, it adds a component of pressure on the goalkeeper's shoulders. And I certainly felt that on a number of occasions. And yet, shootouts, that was a situation I really enjoyed because I felt like there's a little more pressure in that situation on the kicker who's expected to make it. But we won our high school state championship in the Metrodome with 6,000 people watching in a shootout. And then actually at Dartmouth in the NCAA playoffs, we won in the snow against Vermont in a shootout. And those are such special memories. And it's a lot of watching the kicker's eyes, his body approach, and then there's a little bit of guesswork involved too. And I remember a coach from Ghana said, this area, this 18-yard box, you're the lion. This is your den. The Cubs are in the net. Like, you own this. And I played in Scotland and Zimbabwe, and I took a prescribed medication in Zimbabwe, taking it once a week. And after the end of the season, it built up toxic levels in my system. So my heart rate was at 160 beats a minute sitting still, tachycardia, racing heart, and then atrial flutter, heart murmur, skip beats, lots of arrhythmia and pain in the left side of my chest. In addition to that, double vision, sweats and chills. There's a lot of physical symptoms, also some anxiety and depression I'd never experienced before. And with my heart, I was literally fighting for my life for a year because the cardiologist didn't know if my heart could endure it. And there was no medication to counteract those effects. And so that ended my career. It took 10 years to fully recover. And yet I believe there's a hope greater than our challenges. And the best experiences in life can come out of the most difficult situations. And what I learned through those trials, I could never learn in an Ivy League classroom. What I learned in the valley, that's where the deep transformation in my life came. But it wouldn't be something I'd ever want to go through again or have anyone else need to face. But it was very humbling. It's so important athletes have an education and athletes start to think about their career beyond just the playing field because our bodies are our livelihood. And it's a gift to be able to play pro sports. I didn't have a fallback plan. I was a psychology major at Dartmouth, but I knew I didn't want to go into counseling. I simply started to volunteer. And for maybe people who are looking at a career change, to start to find a mentor, to shadow someone, to get experience, I simply started volunteering. I grew up not believing God existed. Then at Dartmouth, I read the Bible for the first time. This Jewish carpenter, is so intriguing, and his love and the way he lived, and ended up following Jesus. But I never thought I'd go into ministry or become a pastor. And it was not typical for my family. We're kind of Baskin Robbins, 31 flavors spiritually. We get along very well. I think it's important to be united and loving. You can have differences, but love each other. And when I started just volunteering, and as my body started to recover, I was able to then go back to school and get a master's degree in theology. And that worked out well towards the end of my recovery because physically I couldn't maintain certain jobs. I didn't have the endurance, but I could start to study and learn. And if you've kind of pushed God away for 18 years, and then all of a sudden you get interested, there's a lot to learn and kind of catch up on in that relationship. And that was a time for me to physically recover, build friendships, and just start to learn. But my job is such a wide range from meeting needs in the community to marriage counseling, to teaching. And I just love serving, and I love seeing life changed. And that's the heartbeat of what I'm doing right now. And I wake up every day excited, truly. The U.S. Census Bureau said 48% of Americans feel helpless during the pandemic. I mean, that's about half of our country. And then online searches in over 75 countries, it's the historically highest level of people typing in prayer or God. People are aware that they're searching for security, a love, a stability right now. When I was at Dartmouth, I couldn't figure out, like with great grades and friends and parties and soccer team doing well, how come the inside story? Because we all have an outside story that people see and then an inside story. And I was still so thirsty on the inside trying to figure that out. And, being able to come alongside of people, I had hundreds of questions when I was trying to kick the tires and just figure out, what is reliable? What's the evidence? I'm someone that doesn't want a blind faith. Like, I want to see the historical evidence, and I want to learn and dive into that. And then kind of like a jury makes a decision once you lay out all the evidence. I really wanted with my mind to engage. And I think that's so important. And then that relational piece, I'm not into religion or going through the motions or just rituals or checking boxes. It's got to be meaningful in a relationship. And what we've seen with homeless community here in Seattle is that when they receive love from people, and a lot of times too, there's that faith component, love from God, but it's love in relationships that are the most healing for all of us and really fulfill that place in our heart, that void. Of course, physical health is incredibly important. We're on this talk show right now, and I just tore my Achilles tendon, so I've got physical health on my mind right now as well. But overall, in terms of homelessness, yes, give opportunities, give some resources, but it's relationships and love that everyone who's working with homeless in Seattle have some common grounds that we gotta love each other, love our neighbors. And that is so important right now. So many people are hurting. They really are. And there's a lot we can do. All of us have gifts and abilities. All of us have neighbors, opportunities every day to make a difference. And it's not a time to be passive or intimidated or too isolated. This is a time to come together in our country. And we need that unity right now. United States of America. That says it right there. Start where you are. Do what you can. Use what you have. And I would add pray as well. Where we're at, we started drive-through prayer because people are hurting and they pull in. They don't have to go to our church, but they pull into our parking lot on Friday nights and they share their hearts and then we listen. Listening is so important. Understand each other, value the stories. We had a Serve Our City where people all across the city, including the Bellevue College men's soccer team, served lots of different projects around our city. We've got Tacoma Stars Faith and Family Night. We had Seattle Founders Faith and Family Night. We have food distribution. There's someone who's raised up a huge team now together here, and he's led the charge. He works at a school full time that has distributed over 15 million pounds of food during the pandemic. And a lot of collaboration. We've worked with World Vision and bringing clean water to kids around the world and running half marathons. I would say teamwork, partnership, collaboration, find people who have a shared passion and commitment to make a difference and lock arms and then encourage each other. We need a lot of positive conversations. It's so easy, like you say, on social media to be negative and critical, slander, gossip, but we need positive gossip, right? We need to be able to build each other up. And our words have power. And listening to each other, speaking words of life and encouragement, that's what we need right now. And I think when you find people who are in that same mindset, it's like gathering a group of embers that come together and a bonfire starts, a movement starts. And don't underestimate what you can do. Small beginnings, don't despise them. Just be faithful. Build on islands of strength. And then there's no limits to what can happen, even in a time like this.
We're going to be able to take a negative and turn it into a positive.
That's it. I love that. And think local and also think global, because we can be active with both. We started, when we saw it was happening in Ukraine, we started Mondays at noon, let's pray. And we didn't know where it was going, but this will be the third week now. Last week, there's a woman that came. She's from the Ukraine. So we started to invite our Ukrainian friends to come join us. And, she said something powerful. And with lots of tears and some prayers, she said something very powerful. She said, we're all one. And she comes from a more Orthodox tradition. So this was unique to step into, our church. But I think she felt that love and that connection. And that's what can happen. That crosses nations, that crosses cultures. I'm so glad our church is multicultural, multi-generational, because we have a love for each other that's greater than any differences. And I'd say major on the majors. And, sure, there's a lot of stuff. We could argue politics all day and all night. It's not hard to find people who argue with you. But to find people that, again, are going to join in with compassion, that have a similar commitment in life towards unity and love, spend time with those people. And they're going to bring out the best in you, and you're going to bring out the best in them. And I love it that, just in our church family, there's people who serve in all different capacities and jobs and spread out during the whole week. And faith shouldn't be compartmentalized to just one building or 1 hour. And we should have light and love that we're spreading, 24/7. And that's when things take off, is when people feel empowered. They know they're on mission. There's a greater purpose than even just the work they're doing. It's the relationships, the culture, and the change that can happen. So often it's that it's going to be something positive, like you mentioned, out of something negative. Something positive is going to happen that's going to be in the valley, that deep change, that hope that starts to come. Because hope is greater than just a feeling. Hope's this foundation. Hope is a lifestyle. And sometimes, I discovered the greatest hope at my lowest point in life. And that was the recovery from the illness in Africa. Even with my faith, there's the death and then there's the resurrection. And, with Jesus. And it's like out of that low point, what's going to emerge out of God's power and grace and love? And then let's look for that. Let's notice it. Let's have our eyes open for the good things that are surfacing right now. And certainly Ukraine has all of our hearts. And whether that's giving, going, praying, there's so much we can do. One pastor here just went to Romania so he could welcome the refugees and take care of them there in Romania. So whatever has your name on it, step up and let's use our gifts and resources together. I love that theme. I said gritty gratitude. I found 10 things I was thankful for every day, and I wrote those down at my lowest point. And let's be grateful. I agree. My personal website, jessebradley.org, has some great resources with free hope content there, even for marriages, practical roadmap for hope. Our church is Grace Community Church in Seattle. That's graceInAuburn.com. And then on social media, Jesse J. Bradley on the different platforms. I love to connect with people, so I would be honored and enjoy it if anyone wants to continue the conversation.
Well, thanks so much for being here with us today and giving us some positive thoughts, because Lord knows there's enough negative things going on in the world today that we all need a little positivity. And thanks again.
I appreciate it, Dr. Byer. Thanks for your voice and the hope that you're spreading as well.